Okay, so Ted sent me this new documentary. All right, it is the Degenerate, the life and films of Andy Milligan. It is the new film from Grayson Tyler Johnson and Josh Johnson. All right, Josh wrote it as well. Right, the film is produced by Josh Johnson. It's executive produced by Carl Daft, David Gregory, co-produced by Deanna Rooney, Nicole Mikuzis, and Andrew Furtado. Josh Frieda took care of the music. Cinematography was handled by Grayson Tyler Johnson. Grayson also edits the piece. Eric Jolie was he took care of the dialogue editing and all of that. Chris Poggiali was the researcher for the documentary. We hear from Gerard Giacozo, Hope Stansbury, Stephen Thrower, Sam Sherman, Jimmy McDonough, and John Borsk. The gist of things. Actually, I can just get that here. Okay, he was a pioneer of avant-garde theatre, trailblazer of early queer cinema, and remains one of the most divisive talents in exploitation horror history. But what is the truth behind Andy Milligan and his depraved, desperate, and damned legacy? In the new documentary, The Degenerate, the life and films of Andy Milligan, filmmakers Josh Johnson and Grayson Tyler Johnson explore the bile, brutality, and intermittent brilliance of the Fassbinder of 42nd Street. Milligan's low-budget productions, including such classics as The Ghastly Ones, Bloodthirsty Butchers, Guru, The Mad Monk, Torture Dungeon, and The Rats Are Coming, The Werewolves Are Here, on which he served as writer, director, cinematographer, editor, set decorator, and costume designer, were predominantly period melodramas fueled by themes of sadism, incest, and misogyny, bathed in bottom-of-the-barrel gore effects, filmed on Staten Island, and for a brief period, London, and forever consigned to grindhouse purgatory, yet via revealing interviews with a gallery of Milligan's performers, enablers, co-conspirators, and his biographer, along with copious clips from his deranged oeuvre, a portrait emerges of a gutter orator who battled and antagonized his own demons to become one of the most transgressive outsider artists of the 20th century. So yeah, that's the film, right? Now we do have a director's statement, right? It is very long, so I'm only taking out bits of it, okay? So yeah, I first heard about Andy Milligan when Josh gave me The Ghastly One, Jimmy McDonough's biography on Andy, says co-director Grayson Tyler Johnson. It's one of those reads where you remember exactly where you were when you finished it. It's incredibly moving and inspiring, but also hilarious and complicated. I was all in on the project after that. The Degenerate was first intended but not completed for Severin Films' 2021 Blu-ray collection, The Dungeon of Andy Milligan, a 9-disc box set containing 14 surviving films from Milligan's NYC and London years, 10 plus hours of trailers, outtakes, interviews, and audio commentaries, a bonus CD, and an all-new 128-page book. The unprecedented press and public response to the collection signaled a renewed interest in Milligan's career. 30 years later, Andy Milligan continues to assault our senses, said Cine Savant. Severin's lavish home video release is an exquisitely produced salute to one of the Grindhouse era's most troublesome characters, Mondo Digital. Severin's watershed collection is certain to increase Milligan's posthumous cinematic reach and growing fan base of warped cineasts. Essential. Doesn't even begin to cover this one, and Tim Lucas of Video Watchdog proclaimed The Dungeon of Andy Milligan stands out as one of home video's great triumphs of art over censorship, and a knighthood for Andy Milligan as one of the fantastic cinema's most maligned and malignant originals. Co-directors Josh Johnson and Grayson Tyler Johnson continued interviewing those who knew Milligan best, including former Lover collaborator Jerry Giacoso, biographer Jimmy McDonough, film historian Stephen Thrower, Milligan marketing consultant Samuel M. Sherman, and surviving members of Milligan's trusted collaborators Hope Stansbury, John Borsch, Bob Lillaclaw, and Robert Berlin, along with visits to Milligan filming locations in Manhattan and Staten Island, and film clips from Andy's classics that include Vapors, Seeds, Flesh Pot on 42nd Street, Torture Dungeon, Bloodthirsty Butchers, The Gassy Ones, The Rats Are Coming, The Whales Are Here, Nightbirds, Carnage, Monstrosity, and Guru the Mad Monk. So yeah, that's it really. I mean, I think that gives you an insight into what this is. It's it's very interesting. I think the thing that does, and they do point it out in the statement, right, that gives it that extra little something, because we do actually hear from Milligan himself, right? So there was an interview done by Stephanie Beaujon, who interviewed Milligan, right, for a French magazine, and they found the tape, right? So they had the tape, and throughout the documentary we have like bits of Andy talking, like it starts off and we hear this voice. We don't know who it is, but we hear this voice talking about film making, right? And that's Andy. So throughout we get these kind of insights and stuff like that, which I think does add to it, because we have all of these interviews, right? We have all of these interviews with these people, and some of it you do wonder, because like there's a lot of performative performance with these interviews, right? Especially Jimmy McDonough, right, the biographer. It's weird, Because it's not just being like, yo, this is what happened. It's just like, oh, and and this happened, and oh my god, oh, you would not believe. I think Andy would hate blah blah blah, and it's just, yeah, no, you wonder, right? You wonder, like, is everything he's saying true? Right? He's putting statements out there, like, oh yes, Andy would have hated this, but would he? Would he? I don't know. Right? So I think you wonder about those things. So hearing Andy himself, it does help. Right? Now there is a lot of speculation from Jimmy. I think Jerry touches upon it at times, like Andy's childhood and how that and being gay affected his filmmaking, right? And I think there's certain things that might affect your subject matter, right, or your portrayals of. I don't think it's really going to affect the actual filmmaking itself, right? You're either going to be a good filmmaker or a bad filmmaker, It's like there are some rappers who are great, but the beats they choose aren't the best. You know what I mean? It's one of those, but they're still great rappers. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things, I think, when it comes to filmmaking. And Andy, I think, shining the light on how things are screened, like who was it? It was Stephen Thrower touched upon an element of the filming, right? Why the shots are so narrow, which is very interesting. You know what I mean? Like, that was an interesting insight. And I think he'd spoken to Andy about it. So it made you actually go, yeah, that, I believe that, right? That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, some of the other things, I don't know, right? I don't know. You do kind of also, these films, they don't look the best. Like, when I say they don't look, like, just the clips that are played, the acting is not great, right? Acting ain't great. And you have, like, these death scenes, right? These scenes of people supposedly, like, a knife going through the arm, and you can clearly see it did not go through the arm, right? It's so evident it did not go through, right? Or a pitchfork through the neck, which again, didn't. Like, the heads get knocked off with just a little touch. Or someone's holding this little knife and you see the arm go up and then it come down and then they're holding the head and you're like, well, you're telling me that they severed the head with one stroke, with that small? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not, right? So we have all of these different things which are interesting, right? And you go, yeah, these aren't the best films. These aren't the best films. But the way everyone's talking about them with this reverence that, Andy was a great filmmaker. You're just like, oh, okay, I don't know. I don't know, right? So the subjectiveness of all of this, you have to question to some degree. But here's the thing. It is still an interesting insight into Andy Milligan, like the process, right? The way he made films, right? The quick turnaround, the type of films he was making, right? Like being able to do it on such a small budget, right? And just the speed in which he went, right? There's a bit where he's had a falling out with, his financer, and so he made he took some time out, came back, made a film, and he's turned up at Trauma, right? And he's just like, oh yeah, I've got this film, but I still owe, right, this company this amount of money. And I'm like, yeah, we could probably sell it and do this and get you that money. And he's like, okay, but I ain't gonna give that money to those people. I'm just gonna go and make another film, right? Now, if he actually said that, we don't know, but it tells you a lot if he did. You know what I mean? Definitely tells you a lot if he did actually say that thing. So, all of that, I think there is this insight, right? We learn about how Andy got started, right? He was an actor at first, right? Well, I mean, he first joined the Navy. That didn't go well, got discharged. And without saying it, right, the wording and everything like that, it does sound like it was probably discharged because they found out he was gay, because it was illegal to be gay in the Navy and the Army it's not that long ago since it became legal, right? So, yeah, he then went to New York, became an actor. And then after acting, right, he started to direct for like this little Cafe Sin. And then he helped out another cafe, and he was producing plays and all of this for both. And then he made a film, right, with Hope, right, Jerry Vapors, right? So we learn all of this and how then that roller coasted into all the other things he did. So it is interesting for sure. I don't know if it needed to be an hour and 40 minutes, just slightly over. I don't know if it needed to be that long, right? I think changing the location helped, because we do have Jerry at times, visiting locations. He goes to where Cafe Sin used to be. He visits like this church, and there was another place he went to as well. So we see him moving around, and I think that is helpful to all of this, right? But yeah, maybe an hour and 40. It's a bit long. It's a little bit long, right? When we don't have any kind of, I guess, concrete insight who Andy is. Because as I said, it's hard to really kind of take what all of these people are saying, because they're all like, yeah, the films were great. Yeah, we made this film. And it's just like, the films aren't great. Now, you can go, our experience making it at the time was fun. You know what I mean? Like, it was definitely fun. Because, yeah, I get that completely. But the films are a bit shit. They look shit. And again, I haven't watched them. So, maybe, right, I'm being a little bit too judgy, right? Maybe if I sat down and watched one, it would be like, yo, this is great. But then, there's so many films from like the 60s and stuff that you watch now and you're like, ooh, that acting was not good. But at the time, the acting was great, right? Because I think everyone was a little hammy, was a little caricature-y, right? You didn't get people actually acting like real people for a while when it came to film and stuff. So, I think you probably have to try and look at the film for what it is, when it was filmed, and these were grindhouse as well. So very low budget, right? Very gonzo in their creation. So it is. So it is that. But yes, the film. I think this is for anyone that is a fan of the ground. I don't know why I can't say it. The grindhouse type of film, right? If that's your thing, if you like the exploitation films, then the Degenerate, the life and films of Andy Milligan is probably for you. If you like trauma films, this is probably for you. You know, I think that's what this is, right? If you just love the history of film, right, you might want to give this a look, right, for some insight. You know, I think like students of film and that kind of thing, if you're studying, it could be helpful, it could be insightful. So yes, the I think it's out now, right? I mean, this yeah, it's doing the festival circuit, but so it's always difficult. But all the release information will be on the website, people, where you can watch it or who you need to follow to find out when it's dropping. I have that info for you. So yes, there you go. That's my insight into the Degenerate, the life and films of Andy Milligan.